Okay, what's up guys? Good afternoon and welcome back to BS2 PCG Deck Forger. This is your boy Mark Ion, and for today we're going to discuss another deck courtesy of FHP BS2 PCG Philippines. And this is what we call the Rouge. Okay, let's try to open this box. And what we have here, one of my favorite mutants from the Resistance expansion set, and she's called Rouge. So Rouge is a level 1 resistance character. She has 3-4 stats, 6 health and flight, and her first superpower is called Force Transfer. So during any combat, you may pay a blue power symbol, and if this is a melee combat, choose an enemy character in the combat. They get -2, -0 on the attack, and Rouge gets +2, +0 on the attack for that particular combat. And this can really help her beef up in order for her to be able to effect a stun during the early turns, especially when she goes up to around 5 attack stats. And this superpower is also needed for her level up power, which is Punch It Up. So she needs 4 XP in order to level up to 2. And while Rouge is in melee combat, when she gains any attack or her opponent loses any attack on in that particular combat, she gains an XP. So what we're trying to do here is when she attacks, you may pay a blue power symbol, for example from a laboratory or from a utopia, and she gets to have a +2 attack bonus, so that brings her attack to 5, and your opponent now gets or loses -2 on their attack. So in this effect, she gains 2 XP automatically. And with the other power-up cards in this particular deck, then she can really go up to level 2 in as fast as the first turn. That is why this deck is called the Rouge. And when she becomes level 2, then she grows to a 5-6 in attack and defense, still with 6 health and light. And now her superpower becomes Life Transfer. So Life Transfer is during any combat, again you may pay any blue power symbol, and if this is a melee combat, choose an enemy character in the combat and they get -0, -2 on the defense, and Rouge gets +0, +2 on the defense this combat. Then again, when she grows big, it's also needed for her to be able to again gain XP for her level 3 persona. And her level of power is breathed in. So what is breathed in? She needs 4 XP in order to level up. So while Rouge is in melee combat, when she gains defense, or when an enemy character in the combat loses defense, she gains an XP. So again, the same pattern, you attack, you pay a blue power symbol, Rouge gains an additional +0, +2 on the defense, so that brings her up to 5-8, and your opponent loses -0, -2 on the defense, so that in particular will fetch you 2 XP automatically. And with the other power-up cards in this deck, then she can level up again as fast as the second turn, or even the third, or later on the third turn. Okay, so let's try to check her level 3 character card. So Rouge on level 3, she now becomes 8-8 with 7 health, so her health goes up to 7 with flight, and now she gains Godly Strength or God Strength. So when Rouge enters melee combat, each enemy character in the combat gets -2 on the attack and defense, and she gets +2 on the attack and defense for each of them. So very powerful level 3 character, most especially when she's team attack by 2, 3, or 4 opposing characters all at the same time, because this time Rogue will get to infect them with -2 penalties for each and every one of them. So she can bring them, or seldomly does she get stunned, no? When she's melee attack, and most especially your opponent will try to avoid hitting on her with multiple characters. Okay, so let's place her here. Well, let's try to check the other cards in the deck. So this deck normally packs numerous number of supporting characters, and this will be explained a while later. Let's try to check them one at a time. So for your first set of 1-drop, you have 4 copies of Solo, and Solo is very important here for your combo. Solo, of course, is from the Underworld team, and he's a 1-drop 1/2 character with 1 health and range. He's solitary, no? So Solo can team attack, so don't ever think of cannot team attack with him, even if there are other Underworld characters in the game on your board. And what is more important, of course, is his second keyword power, which is go solo. So when a character on your side, any character, solo attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So solo is important here, of course, since your Rogue, once she gets to attack, okay, she automatically nets a +1/+1 counter, so that will add to her XP. And even on the second, okay, on her level 2 character, once that she attacks solo, again, she will net a +1/+1 counter, and that will bring her defense up, and again, it will earn her an XP. So that's what makes this Rogue Rush very fast for her leveling up. Okay, so those are 4 copies again of Solo. We have added a rather tactical card for this particular set, and this is from the new Defenders, and she's called the Red Guardian. So I really like this card now, since the Red Guardian is a 2/2 with 1 health, so not very big enough, but her belt buckle disc is very important, no, for your defense in this particular deck. So while Red Guardian is in combat, anytime you could play a combat any combat plot twist, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from her, okay, to daze an enemy character in the combat. So for example, if you have a solo in play and you get to attack with the Red Guardian, automatically she gains a +1/+1 counter, right? And let's say she's up against the likes of Gilgamesh or Ping Pang Boom, then all you need to do is, since it's your first action during your attack, okay, you can remove the +1/+1 counter on Red Guardian, and automatically you can get to daze Gilgamesh. So you can remove any huge blocker from in front of your board. Okay, so it's just a very good addition to this deck. And of course, for our 2-drop, the first is a set of Call. So Call is from the company team, and Call is a 2-drop with 2 stats, 3 health, so very durable, and range. She's important here because of her keyword power, which is full of surprises. So while Call is in your hand, you can discard her to power up any character in your deck. You can do this anytime you could normally power up that character. So you can power up again, be reminded during the main phase, and also during any combat. any on combat step. So again, we use call here because for Rogue, once she attacks, she already gains the +1/+1 counter, let's say from solo, and you have already a blue power symbol to pay for an additional, let's say, +2. So she gains 2 attack, and that's another XP, and your opponent loses 2 attack, that's another XP, and you play call, then automatically you gain a total of 4 XP, and you get to level up Rogue even during mid combat. Okay, so I think we got that right. Now of course you have another set of 2 cost character, and this is Kane. So Kane is also from the Weyland Yutani team, the company, and he's a 2-drop with 3 attack and 1 defense and 1 health. So not much of a very big stats, no. So even in the movie he died very quickly. But we need Kane here because of the his explore keyword power. So when Kane appears, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a basic location. Put it into your hand and shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into your deck. So we need Kane here for us to be able to fetch those blue power symbol from your laboratory. And since this deck only has around 8 locations, so 4 laboratory and 4 utopia, so you're assured that you're able to fetch a blue power symbol, okay, once King hits the board. So let's put King here. Okay, so next is one of our more offensive characters, and we have 4 copies of Match. So Match is a teammate of Rogue in the Mutant Resistance, and he's a 2-cost 4 attack 1 defense character with 1 health and with range, and he's very powerful because of his pirate form. So pirate form is Match would enter a or would strike a defender, put -1/-1 counters to his attack on that defender instead, or equal to his attack on that defender instead. So let's try to, zoom it up a little. So Match is very powerful in this deck because of course he's attacking from the range position. So if you're up, let's say, against a 5 cost character with, let's say, a 5 attack character, 5/5 for example, and you have Soul in play, and Match gets to attack, okay, so he goes to 5 attack 1 defense with that +1/+1 counter, and automatically once he strikes that character loses or is penalized by 5 -1/-1 counters. So if he does not have any range, automatically he becomes stunned. If it's a very big character, let's say like Gilgamesh, then that 5 -1/-1 counters will help to bring his power down, so that your other big characters can actually stun him. Okay. So next is our 3-drop for this deck, and of course we have Baron von Strucker. So Strucker is from the Hydra team, and he's a 3-cost 6 attack 2 defense supporting character with 1 health, and he has range. His first keyword power is he's a soldier. So when Baron von Strucker enters, okay, or appears, put -1/-1 counters equal to the number of soldiers on your side onto an enemy supporting character. So he's good, no? Because Strucker can help lower down the stats of an opposing supporting character. But he's more important here because of the team up. Since you are running several multi-team or multi-affiliated characters, we need the team up. So each supporting character on your side is also a Hydra supporting character. Okay, so at least you can have Baron von Strucker team up with Match once he hits the board, Okay, so that will bring your total team attack power to 10. The -1/-1 counters. Then you can bring down an 11 opposing character. So he's important here because of the team up. Sometimes when the game goes to the late turns and you're able to drop those big Dark Phoenixes or even those let's say Sentry, then the team up can help rally your individual characters together so that you're able to actually bring down a huge opponent. Okay, so next is for a 4-drop we have Mr. Hyde. So Mr. Hyde is from the underworld, so he's a teammate of Solo, and he's a huge 10-10 with 2 health, but he's grounded, and his keyword power is Dr. Calvin Sabo. So didn't know that if that's his real name or his alter ego. So Mr. Hyde appears with 5 -1/-1 counters. So Hyde this time when he first appears, he's not really actually 10-10, but you put 5 -1/-1 counters on him and he now becomes 5-5 only. But I use this particular card here because it's important for a particular plot twist in this deck. And once you hit Mr. Hyde on the board and he gets a 5-5 5 -1/-1 counters, you can attack with him, okay, from the front row, and of course the 5-5 can bring down any opponent or opposing character with at least 5 defense, no? So once he gets to stun or be stunned, okay, then you can play this particular plot twist, which I use in the deck, and this is Fight the Good Fight. So the Fight the Good Fight is a mutant resistance plot twist, and during your main phase, recover and ready a stun character on your side. It has ferocious this turn. So remember, Mr. Hyde was stunned. You play Fight the Good Fight since you have a rogue as your main character in play. He recovers, readies, but this time there are no more -1/-1 counters, so he becomes a 10-10 brute with ferocious. So again, you can attack Mr. Hyde, and this time he's sure to stun somebody on the 10 defense range, and he doesn't get stunned back in return. Okay, so very powerful combination there. Okay, so let's put Mr. Hyde here. Then for our 5 cost characters, we have 4 copies of Rouge. Rouge from the Brotherhood. You cannot really play her here, but she is here because for the power up of the Rogue main character. Since Rogue is also has the same name as your main character, you can use this card to power up Rogue again to effect those force transfer, those particular superpowers, or most especially for the level up powers of Rogue. So punch it up and breathe it in. Okay, so the additional +1/+1 both on the attack and defense can help fetch you 1 XP. So you have 4 copies of this so that you can be assured that together with, of course, Solo, Call, sorry, you are able to get at least 8 chances to draw a power up for Rogue in order to help level her up. Okay, so let's place her here. And your main 5 drops are of course 2 copies of Domino. I really like this card, no? And also she's a mutant resistance team. And at 5 drops, she's a 5/8 with 1 health and range. I really like her, just like in the movies, because of her probability manipulation. So when Domino attacks, you have to flip a coin, and if she wins the flip, stun the defender. When Domino defends, flip a coin. If she wins the flip, remove her from the combat and you may hide her. So very powerful, no? Because once you get to attack with her and you flip a coin and you win the flip, You can even stun even a Galactus. And once she is defending, you get to flip a coin, and when she wins to flip, automatically you can remove her from the combat, so that will raise one attack from your opponent, and you may hide her. Okay, so you may hide her. Okay. And for our 6th drop, we have another 4 copies of Rouge. And we have included Rouge here, of course, again from the A-Force team, because I won't just be explaining her stats, because we just use Rouge here to power up your main character. And with 4 calls, 4 Rouge from Brotherhood and 4 Rouge from A-Force, that brings your total chances to at least 12 out of 60 cards in the deck in order to fetch a power up for your main character, and again to level her up very quickly. Next, of course, our main 6 drop are 2 copies of Loki from the A-Force team. And Loki is a 7/6 attack and defense with 1 health. Her first keyword power is power hungry, so once per turn, when a character on your side gets powered up, draw 3 cards. So very important for your hand advantage. Remember, you have 12 sets of power-ups, not including all the individual characters with multiple copies on your deck. And when one of them gets powered up, the first time each turn, you'll get to draw 3 cards. So that's a 3-card hand advantage for you once Loki hits the board. But then you have to be very careful with Loki, okay? Because questionable loyalty is at the start of your build phase. If a face-up enemy character has higher attack than each face-up character on your side, then you have to move Loki to the player's back row. So again, she gets to become, okay, a traitor to your cause. Okay. Now, going to the 7 drop, we have this particular deck is good for a short game or maybe for a mid to long game. But I decided to use Wolverine for this particular deck for the 7 drop because of his 9/7 stats and 2 health, and at the same time he has animal senses. When Wolverine appears or enters combat, you may look at an enemy player's hand. So it's very good because once you get to attack with him or once you recruit him, automatically you get to pick at your enemy's hand. You will know whatever plot twist he has hidden, or if he has any upcoming supporting character that you can play during the next turn. At least you'll be able to get some intelligence on what he's going to do on his particular next turn. But I included him also here because of his second keyword power, which is survival of the fittest. So when Wolverine is wounded, when he stuns an enemy character in melee combat, wound it an extra time. So good thing about this, you can attack Wolverine, then he gets stunned, then again play fight of good fight. So he already has 1 wound. He now readies, and he has 1 wound. Then he has ferocious, so he attacks the main character. Once he's able to stun that main character, you get to put an additional wound in as a bonus. So enough to really bring down any main character. But if you're forced to go to the late game, then I decided to use Iceman. Since I'm not using any drop 1 Iceman in this deck, I used Omega Iceman, and he is an 18/1 with 2 health and range. So since he is an Omega level mutant, you can't include Omega level mutants with other names in your deck. But I really like him because of his Ice Age power. When you recruit Iceman and at the start of your turn, freeze each enemy location. So what happens here is if each location is frozen, they cannot produce recruit points for your opponent. So that typically paralyzes your opponent during his next turn, most especially on the 8th turn and the 9th turn, depending on whichever went first. So if you're able to drop on the 8th and you go first, once he hits the 8th turn on his side, automatically Iceman freezes his location. Then all of his 7 current locations are put sideways, and they will not produce any recruit points, and only 1 point will be added to his recruit pool, and he cannot recruit any character, okay, except for 1 drop, and that will typically stall him for the next turn. And if Iceman is able to survive the next turn again, and at the start of your turn, you can again freeze your opponent's location. Very powerful Omega E. For this particular deck, we have included just 2 copies of equipment, and one is the Nullifier, of course. It's a one-of-a-kind equipment for 2 costs. And of course, it's an ultimate nullification. When the nullify appears, name a keyword or superpower. Enemy characters lose and can't gain that power until the nullifier leaves play. So the nullifier is very important here because most especially you have to watch out for those Dark Phoenix that can turn your powerful level 3 rogue back to level 1. Okay, and let's place it here. And our 4-drop equipment is Chimichanga. Deadpool's favorite food is a one-of-a-kind equipment in this game, and I just love saying it. During the main phase, you may pay 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 green, or 1 red superpower, or just say Chimichanga, 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 and put 4 + 1 + 1 counters on equipped character. So normally we equip this on Rogue or any huge character, like of course you can equip Iceman, Wolverine, or even Red Guardian, or even Match. Why? Because counters will help increase their stats, and if goes unchecked, your character equipped with Chimichanga can really go to huge proportion during the later turns. And as I said before, we have included 4 copies of Fight the Good Fight, sorry. And Fight the Good Fight is very important in these decks, most especially since you have your Rogue, you have your Mr. Hyde, and you have your Wolverine. So to recall, during the main phase, recover and ready a stun character on your side. It has Ferocious this turn. Okay, let's place it here. Again, we also included 2 copies of Long-Term Plan. Okay, so Long-Term Plan is a plot twist that can be used during your main phase. Stun an enemy supporting character with cost exactly equal to the number of resources on your side. So let's say it's 8 turn and you already have 8 resources, you can stun an 8 cost Gilgamesh. That was put in play prior. I only included 2 copies because they're a little bit tricky to use. But in some instances, I can also remove 2 Fight the Good Fight and this 2 Long-Term Plan in order to replace them with Latent Mutation. So Latent Mutation is needed when, most especially let's say if you've already known that you are up against the like of decks like Kate Pride Kelly, Senator Kelly combos, and all those other pesky characters that can fetch an auto win condition for your opponent. So again, Long-Term Plan is in here, 2 of them, but again you can replace your Long-Term Plan with Latent Mutation, okay, if it is needed. And of course, for the last set of cards, we have 4 copies of Laboratory, so more very important for your Rogue. And we also have 4 copies of Utopia, which are also used for Rogue. So most of the cards location in this deck are really used for Rogue. And again, you have to watch out for some of my tips now when playing this deck. You have to watch out for opposing characters that are into range, because of course once the combat is in range position but not in melee, most of Rogue's powers do not take effect. So you better watch out for it. But again, you have to go very aggressive. So the more that you can attack every turn, whittle down those opposing character boards, then at least you can help sustain the success of this particular deck. Okay, so that's it everybody, and and hope you like this video. And of course, I'd like to thank all our supporters from Card Hobbies BS2PCG Philippines, from FHP BS2PCG Philippines, and also from our friends from BS2PCG Collected, and from the Build Phase, most especially to Mr. Benjamin Brosin and Mr. Joe Pitelli. And we'd also like to thank our sponsors, most especially Treats for Them. Okay, try to download the Treats for Them at treatsfordem.com or at Google Play Store. And also our from Fort Chubby Place, where we normally hold our weekly events every Sunday. So Fort Chubby Place is located at Unit B, 3rd floor, Velasquez Compound, Naga Road, Pulanlupat 2, Las Piñas City, Philippines. In that case, thank you very much everybody, and hopefully to see you again in the next episode of BS2PCG Deck Forger.